Good morning. It's Memorial Day 2023 here at the Henry Levy House in Oxnard, California. And I thought this morning I'd give you a tour of our yard and gardens. So we're starting here in front of our dining room. This bed, when we moved in just under 2 years ago, was a bit of a mess. It's still a little bit of a mess, but I planted this beautiful blue, I think this is a blue spruce. Let me see if I can find the tag on it. I try to tag everything in the yard so I remember what it is, but of course now I can't find the tag. But I think this is a blue spruce. Blue Atlas cedar spruce, that's what it is. Because we're here on Christmas Tree Lane, and of course I want a permanent living Christmas tree here. We transplanted these, I think these are liriopes. You can correct me if I'm wrong, into this front bed here, and I think they look really great. We also put in these rose gardens. We have one on each side of the house. When we first moved in, right around in here, there was a very old pomegranate tree. While architecturally beautiful, it was all rotted on the inside, and the fruit was not even making it to maturity, so we had to take it down. It actually cracked in half during a windstorm, so we took it out. And we put in this rose bed here. This is the Barbara Streisand rose. And of course we had a lot of rain this year, which we needed, but it's wreaked havoc on my roses. So they do this thing where they get wet on the outside, and then the sun comes out and dries it hard, so these outer petals get hard, and then they have trouble opening. So I got to come in here and remove all these outer petals in order for them to bloom. It seems to affect some of the roses worse than others, like the white ones. This rose, I don't think I know what this is, because this was already in the yard when we moved here, and it was not marked. Oh no, wait a minute, let me see what I wrote here. No, yeah, it says pink from center yard, so I don't know what this is. So if anybody knows what this rose is, you can let me know. I love this rose. This is the St. Patrick. It actually ends up yellow, but it starts out with a greenish tone on the outside for St. Patrick's Day. This rose is, let me find the tag. I cannot find it, no. But this year, this rose, this of course is on its last legs here, but I don't know if it's the fertilizer I put on these this year, but my roses are ginormous this year. And that's a beautiful pink and white rose. This rose here too was already in the yard when we moved here. It's a lavender, which I think is sometimes called a sterling. But again, it had no name on it. This was also in the yard, but it was back there. It was back by our gazebo, and it was planted in the shade, and it was really struggling. So I moved it up here. And this is a David Austin rose, and I believe it is called, let me look here, Albrighton Rambler. And they're just beautiful. I love these black red roses. Absolutely gorgeous. This, I believe, is called Ink Spots. I need to do a better way to put my tags so they're easier to find, but I believe that's the Ink Spots. I have another one on the other side. This is one of our favorites, and it too was already here in the yard. This is Ketchup and Mustard, but look how prolific this thing is this year. My gosh, it's just huge, and so many roses. This is another of the black red roses, and of course the tag is over here where I have to get stuck by thorns. This is called Black Pearl. I just love the dark, dark, dark red ones. This we brought with us from our last house. We saw a couple of roses at the USC Rose Gardens, and we bought this one, and it's very similar, but I don't think it's what we saw at the Rose Garden. This is called Chambly's. I don't think that's the name. I think that's the company that makes it. Let me see if it's on the back side here. Yes, this is called Cream Veranda. It's a beautiful rose, but I don't think it's what we had originally wanted. And I have a second one of these on the other side, and we'll walk over there now. This side of our house has a lot of camellia bushes. This one is actually very old if you look at the root system on this thing. It's been here a long time. And there's one of these, I think this is a Chinese lantern, which gets these interesting flowers on it. I don't think it's Chinese lantern. What is this? I can't remember what this is called. Here we go. This is a Butylon pictum, red vein flowering maple Chinese lantern. It's just, I think over here on the side of the house, we get such wind coming from the west. The beach is about 4 miles that way. I think it just gets kind of tattered looking over here. Some Siberian iris, beautiful. I love heucheras. I just planted this camellia last year, and it's got a beautiful little single petal red rose on it. We have some more just kind of plain white roses out here. These are wonderful hedges. These are sweet pea hedges. They've been pruned back right now. I have to prune these back all the time because they just grow wild. But they get these beautiful sweet pea blossoms on them. And it'll be just covered with them. And it blooms, I swear, almost all year long. We have another section of roses over here in the corner. We planted, I'm brain farting this morning, excuse me for that, azaleas all along this front border on both sides of the house. And our dogs have decided to use it as a dog run when they chase after people walking down the sidewalk, and this side is totally gone. They've totally obliterated all of the azaleas. This is a gorgeous red bud that was here when we moved in. We put these begonias around here, or geraniums, sorry, geraniums. This was the original living Christmas tree that I bought to put over there into the dining room, and I liked the other one better. This is a baby blue eyes spruce. So I think I'm gonna put it here, build this up with some dirt and make it on a mound. Right here in the front of the house, I'm gonna put hydrangeas, and we have a fountain that's gonna go right there. It's actually this fountain right here is gonna go over here. This is the beginning of our second rose garden over here. This is a gorgeous orange rose. Look at this thing. This is called Bride's Dream. Just beautiful. These are beautiful too. I usually don't like the variegated ones very much, but I think this one is just gorgeous. And this is called Maurice something. I should have been more prepared with the names, but I have tags on all these things and I can't always find them. This one I'm a little disappointed in. It was supposed to be another black red rose, and it's just not very pretty. This is called, well, I can't see it, Ebb Tide. Maybe it just needs to mature more. I'm still holding out, but I may end up moving that somewhere else and getting something else in here. Now this rose was here in another location, and I'll tell you, it is the strongest, most perfumey rose I have ever smelled in my life. It's amazingly gorgeous. This is called, can't see it, Dream Come True. How beautiful is that? This is the second one of those ones that I showed you on the other side. I have one here. I don't remember what this is. Let me see. This is called Jude the Obscure. So we'll have to get another shot of that some other time when it's opening up. Now I have two of these. I think these were already on the property as well because I don't have tags for these. And I don't know what they are. So again, if you know what this is, oh wait a minute. Maybe I do know what this is. Let me see. No, I can't find the tag now. But it's a beautiful peachy orangey color. I don't know what it is. This is the Mr. Lincoln. It's another gigantic, beautiful red rose, and it gets long stems on it like you would get at the florist. This is one of my absolute favorites. Would you look at the color of that yellow? It is truly that vibrant. I have never seen a yellow rose this vibrant. This is the Henry Fonda. This one is interesting. This was actually right over here when we moved in, and it never bloomed when we first moved in, and it's not bloomed since, but this year it decided to bloom because I moved it over here. But I don't know what it is. So if anybody has an idea, it gets really tall, long branches on it. Really interesting. Well, this one is not a good specimen to show right now, but this is another one of the black reds, I believe. This one is called Ink Spots, and it's beautiful too. You'll have to take my word for it. Here's one that's going to come pretty soon. This is the John F. Kennedy white rose. We actually had this at our other house, and it never really did very well. And I swear the blossoms didn't even look like this. So I'm wondering if either the one at our other house or this one is not John F. Kennedy, because they don't look to me at all alike. So we'll see. I love this one too. Look how beautiful this is. It's just got this lighter color on the inside. It's just unbelievable. And this is called Cherry Parfait. Very apropos name. This is one of my absolute favorites as well. I keep saying that, they're all my favorites. I wish this was open more. This is called Coco Loco, and it's a pinky mauve color with a tan undertone. It sounds kind of weird, but it is really beautiful. This one I have not planted yet. This is Yves Piaget, and it gets these curly petals on it. Really pretty. I think I'm going to put that here. So when you look at this rose garden on the side, it's like this. So I think I'm going to bring a few more right out here so that it matches up with that. And then I haven't decided yet what I'm putting in this front flower bed. Maybe you can help me with some ideas. This area over here I've been using like my nursery. It's it's a bit of a mess because we get high gale force winds here, and it blows right down the sides of the house. It just sends everything flying. I'm always having to clean it up. The people before us planted grapes all over the yard, which I absolutely love, but they planted them in the weirdest places. They almost planted them as just to use as kind of a trailing climber on top of arbors. But they often planted them in the shade and they weren't doing anything. They were all dying back. So this is the first year we're actually getting some grapes on them because I dug them all up and I've got them out here in the sun now. Got some strawberries growing here. This is a snowball bush, which I'm going to plant around the side over in the far corner over there. I'll show you when we get to the other side. These are just some onions we stuck in a pot. And look at how those are growing. Now this is interesting. These are peonies, and I've always loved peonies, but peonies don't really grow that well in Southern California. But they had these at Home Depot, and I thought I'd give them a try. They did not bloom last year, maybe because I didn't get them in the ground. And then they looked like they died back completely. I thought they were dead. They looked like that. And now here they are in spring coming back. I also love butterfly bushes. So I've got a bunch of those. We have one in the ground on the other side. This is a lilac, which I don't even remember buying. But look, it's got some blooms coming on it. This is a Aloe Koa Hibiscus Scrupulatalis or something. I think I bought this from a shop online in Hawaii. Got some mint growing. This is just kind of a hodgepodge. I do love this. This is a lemon lime nandina. And again, I thought this had died back, and it's just coming back like crazy now. So my absolute favorite flowers, of course, which we'll see out over here, are bearded iris. My second favorite are hydrangeas. And these are three, I guess, oak leaf hydrangeas. And they get those long cone-like white flowers on them, which are just beautiful. And this is my collection of hydrangeas, which I need to get in the yard as soon as possible. They'll go in the front over there, which faces east, so I hope they do well over there. I bought this plant stand on Wayfair, and it's just not weathering very well out here in the outside yard. I'm not quite sure what to do here. I'd kind of like to just make this a potting area, but I have to be able to get to the house. We got to do some work on the side of the house here with the peeling paint. This area, so this is our koi pond, and this area over here I want to make a shade garden because we're underneath a gigantic historic oak tree here, which is right next to our garage. And I hope to make this a beautiful shade garden. I've purchased a lot of Japanese maples here. Another plant that I absolutely love. They're so graceful and beautiful. Probably got 6 or 8 of them over here that I'm gonna get planted in various places. This is you're probably more familiar with the clivia, but in the orange version. This is the more rare, yellow clivia. You can see some of my koi here. They'll probably come up because they're starving and think they're going to be fed here. We actually had 45 to 50 in this pond earlier this year when we had it cleaned, and for some reason, starting in this past fall, the pond got some kind of a virus in it, and we're down to just this many now. I lost a lot of really beautiful fish, and I'm just heartbroken. This is a beautiful, we'll come around the corner here, but this is a beautiful game stock iris that grows in the water. This is the back side of our house, looking over towards the north. This is a workshop with 2 sheds. I think these are called game stock iris. But look how beautiful it is. Growing right in the water. And then we have these gigantic calla lilies growing inside the pond. I never knew before we moved here that they would grow in water. But they just get enormous and lots of blooms. I love having elephant ears around the pond too. I've got several different kinds I'm trying to get here. This bird of paradise was on its last legs when we moved in. It's amazing what a little water will do. It's doing really well, but I don't really like this place for it, so I'm thinking about transplanting it. Does anybody know how easy they are to transplant? This is a California lilac. This is a regular lilac that just bloomed recently. You can see there's still a dead blossom on it. These are called Cousin It. They're acacias. And they're not doing that well this year. They're supposed to get real moundy and lots of leaves. So I really love this, and so we're getting into my bearded iris. And I was hoping this one would still be open because it was a beautiful color, but it's dying back today. But some of my irises, and we've got alstromerias in here, several different colors. But look at this one back here. Got some specialty irises in here. Look at this thing. Is that perfection or what? Just look at those blossoms. And I've got quite a few more. There's a dark purple one back here. In fact, I have 2 dark purple ones. One is called Raven's Girl, and the other one I think is called Dracula's Kiss. And I was totally unfamiliar with these, and I planted them, and I'm just thrilled with them. These are called, I guess they're called Geum or Geum, G-E-U-M. And I bought 3 of them, red, orange, and there was supposed to be a peach one, and I guess it died because I don't have it anymore. Sometimes I wonder if my landscape guy pulls things out thinking they're weeds. And then I've got some little mini carnations. What are these called? Sweet Williams? Love those. I love the smell of a carnation. And then as we work our way over here, I've got daylilies in here. This is a gardenia tree. Didn't realize when we bought it online that it was going to be a tree, and when it arrived it was a tree. But it's called Sweet Amy. It's supposed to be the largest blossom of all the gardenias. This one, as you can see, has not done well. But because they come from Monrovia Gardens, they are warranted, so I'm going to see if I can get it replaced. These are pineapple lilies, mixed in here among my daylilies. I put in a vegetable garden last summer, and it was doing really wonderfully. And then my partner got sick, and I had to spend a lot of time in the hospital with him, which I gladly did, but the vegetable garden didn't do too well. And when I came home after many months, I found it about 18 feet tall and had to cut it all back. And this was broccolini, and I've let it go to seed. I thought, well, I'll try to at least harvest the seed, but you can see there's some little tiny sprigs of broccolini here. but not much left. These tomatoes just didn't do well, but they're now coming back, which is kind of amazing. I got some more mint growing here. Sunflowers that just pop up from, I guess, my bird seed. I had planted a papaya and a mango. Unfortunately, the papaya tree died. The mango's a little worse for wear, but it's still green. I got some carrots going on here. Some herbs. This area over here is a little bit of a mess. This is the most amazing hibiscus, likely planted around the time the house was built in 1915. I have never seen a hibiscus get this big. This is just, look at this trunk. And these blossoms are just beautiful. We had a golden retriever that we had to put to sleep last October, who used to come out here and love to eat the hibiscus blossoms. The only thing I hate about hibiscus is it gets this white fly, which is easily hosed off, but it's just a pain in the butt. And in this little area here, I've got a lot of planted stuff, and I'm not quite sure what to do with it, but I've got a lot of citrus trees. This is a Oro Blanco semi-dwarf pumelo. Look how big these are, and they're just tiny already. It's going to get huge fruit on it. And then over here, this isn't doing very well, but this is a, have you ever heard of a finger lime? Look at the thorns on this thing. But finger limes, if you're not familiar with them, they're long and skinny, and the pulp inside almost looks like caviar. This is a Pacific crab apple with a bunch of these, and I never can remember the name, Crocus myrias or something. They get a long red, almost like a gladiola flower on it, and they proliferate like crazy. They are growing all over this yard, and I can't get rid of them. We have a bunch of hibiscus. These are all just mostly hibiscus that we've started from sprigs, but there's a few in here that we've purchased as well. This is a Meyer lemon, which isn't doing well in that tiny pot. I got to get it transplanted. This is a dwarf little Cado avocado. Been in there for 2 years and it still hasn't gotten any avocados. These are all hibiscus. This is a mandarin orange, a geranium stuck in a pot it's overgrown now. This is all flagstone. This used to be out here. We used to have right here a gigantic fig tree that was planted by one of the Levy sons a long time ago, probably close to the time that the house was built. It was enormous, but it was very old, and it would get lots of fruit on it, but the fruit all fell off before it would ripen, and we'd have fig jam all over this flagstone and the ground, and the dogs would come out here eat it, and they'd get sick. So we had to take the fig tree out. But the roots had uplifted all of the flagstone, and it was like a really bad tripping hazard out here. So we decided to put in these pavers everywhere. Also around the pond, the prior owners had just put rock. It was unpleasant looking and unpleasant to walk on, so now we have a nice paver walkway that goes all the way around the pond. This beautiful rose, and there's two of them here, is the Marilyn Monroe. And I swear, when we planted these last year, they were a slightly different color. And now they're a little bit more orange. I was thinking they were a little more yellow last year. If I have a picture from last year, I'll try to insert it into the video. One of my other favorite things that was here in the yard when we moved in are all these Mexican marigolds. You just barely have to touch these things, and the fragrance they give off is unbelievable. This is a rose that was here. I don't know what variety it is, and it's kind of just stuck back there. And it gets kind of neglected, but boy, it sure tries to bloom. We have some plumeria trees in pots, and they get those beautiful aromatic flowers. They're also called frangipani. They're the Hawaiian flowers. These, I can't remember what these are called, but these are those big poppies, and they get just huge. They're even bigger this year because they got so much rain, but look at these blossoms on here. There's a house over on the next street over, and they have some that are shrub size. They're ginormous, and they just get huge. The people prior to us, probably two people, homeowners prior to us, had all these succulents. This is the mosquito geranium, and the pots had grown to the ground, and I lifted them all up, and then they started to die back, but now they're coming back again. We've got some artichokes growing here. In fact, this one over here actually has an artichoke on it. I'm excited. These are rhubarb. We had planted, this was our original vegetable garden over here, and it just did poorly. I don't know what I did wrong, but I don't know if it was the kind of soil I put in there or what, but last year they just did poorly. This is just a ragtag tomato that, oh, it's actually got tomatoes on it, that came back just probably from seed. We've got a bunch of fruit trees we need to get in the ground, and I just haven't decided where to put them all. This is a Santa Rosa plum. And this is a companion tree, which is a Flavor King Pluot, which is a combination of a plum and an apricot. And another artichoke here. I've got some bulbs that I just stuck in here. Sometimes I order stuff mail order, and then I get them and they sit in the box and they die, so I just stuck them in there until I figure out what to do with them. These are naked ladies, the pink, I think called maybe pink slipper also called. Not my favorite thing in the world. I had them in our yard growing up, and kind of always associated them with the Inland Empire. Now these are more of my bearded iris. Before we moved out of our last house, which we were in for 20 years, where I had planted hundreds of irises, I dug them all up and brought them with us. So these are all in tiny little pots, hoping they survive. But I'm also hoping that they'll bloom so I can catalog them and know where I want to put them. This is an apricot tree which we bought, and it actually has an apricot on it. This tree was here when we moved in. This is a loquat. I had a loquat tree at a friend's house growing up, and we loved the fruit. I don't know, this one is just okay. I don't remember having to peel them when I was a kid. This one has a really thick skin on them, and you have to peel them first. And of course they have a really big seed inside. The ones as a kid, I remember, had 4 seeds inside, so apparently there's different varieties of these. We've got some blueberries here. This was a berry vine that was stuck in a shady spot when we moved in, so I dug it up and just stuck it in a pot, and it gets blooms on it, but it has not gotten any fruit on it, so I still don't know what it is. These are dahlias that I ordered mail order. I order stuff mail order all the time, and then I get them and they aren't what I bought. I never would have bought this dahlia. I don't know why I have such bad luck ordering mail order. This is a beautiful little bush we love. Very architectural. This is a Carmel creeper, Ceanothus griseus. And it gets these beautiful dark blue blossoms all over it. Such a beautiful little bush. I also love this geranium. It gets these maroon burgundy flowers all over it, right next to this other sort of periwinkle blue. This is a butterfly bush, which gets beautiful blossoms on it. It's getting ready to open. Now last year, this thing was covered with caterpillars. And I tried to hand pick a lot of them off, but they nest inside these tender young blooms. In fact, it looks like there might be one in here. And it gets all sticky, and they eat them, and they ruin the blooms. Maybe one here. But this year we've had less caterpillars, so hopefully it's going to get some beautiful blooms on it. These two roses were here when we moved in as well. I don't know what variety they are. Very prolific, and the rose is gorgeous on it. Kind of an orangey big rose. Prior owners put a lot of just these plain white and red roses all over the place. Not my favorite things. I like the more colorful roses. Back here is a Lady Banks, which is a beautiful red or yellow rose. As you can see, it gets a little yellow. I'll get a close-up coming around here. This area is a real mess, and it was even worse when we moved in. It was so overgrown. They had lots of big logs in here that they had cut up, trees that had fallen down, and put them in here, and they were all full of termites. This is just beautiful, this Lady Banks. Several lavender bushes around. We've got some myrtles that they planted way too close together, so those are going to have to be transplanted. Some pretty geraniums, which I'm actually going to transplant out around the parkway trees. There's something else I was going to show you in here. Oh, I bought this. This is actually, and it doesn't look really good right now, but this is a green rose. This one's kind of been open for a long time, so it's kind of got some red in it now, but it really only kind of ever looks like that, and the petals are green on it. Have you ever heard of a green rose? I got some more irises over here that I'm hoping will bloom and let me identify them. You can hear the church bells going off in the background. Some more iris over here. This is a flamethrower redbud. Look how beautiful that is. This is another redbud. Let me see if I can find the variety on here. Lavender twist. Now the problem with these are, they too died back at one point, and you can see the top of this one. The whole top of it is dead. And I was reading online, and maybe somebody can write in and let me know, that said that if the tops die, they'll never get any taller than this. Has anybody else ever heard that about redbuds? I bought this, I think, at Home Depot, and I just thought it was really interesting. It's a Grevillea Spirit of Anzac. I think it's a drought-tolerant plant, but it gets a beautiful red, almost bottle brush-like blossom on it. I just thought it was architecturally really pretty. As a kid, we had a jacaranda tree in our backyard that I used to climb to the top to. And then when we moved to Valley Village, California, over by Studio City, we had I think 3 jacarandas, and oh my gosh, the blossoms just drove us crazy. They stick to your feet and you track them in the house. Then I saw online from Monrovia, they had a dwarf version. So I got this dwarf version, and it's pretty much staying dwarf, but I haven't got it in a place to grow yet, so it's probably not doing as well as it could. The first year it died completely back, and I didn't think they were completely deciduous, so I thought it was dead. And Monrovia actually gave me a refund on it. And then it came back the next year, and I felt terrible. But I buy a lot from Monrovia, so hopefully it's okay. This is another great tree over here. This is a corkscrew willow, you know, like in the weeping willow family, and I guess they use these curly branches in flower arrangements. It's just a beautiful tree. This corner over here's always been kind of a deserty, dry mess. And I think where this free-flowing sunflower is growing, I'm going to take those out and I'm going to put that white bush that I talked about earlier, which I can't remember the name of. Last year I planted sweet peas in here in a big long row here and down this way. And these are all just seeds that must have dropped off and are coming back this year. But I do love sweet peas. They're a beautifully fragrant flower. And you can see over here my azaleas are doing a lot better because the dogs don't use it as a dog run. This is another very, very old hibiscus that was in the yard. And when we moved in, this whole length of fence was covered in hedges. Probably this tall. If you stood out on the sidewalk outside, you could barely see the house. And one of the first things I did when we moved in was have all those hedges taken out. It was just full of bugs and spiders, and it was just horrible. We didn't even know when we bought this house that this fence was inside that hedge. But over here, there were also in this yard, this section here, and over here, there were a bunch of tea trees, which I don't know if I can get a shot of it. This house right here, this in the front here, is a tea tree. And apparently, they're highly invasive in Australia and other parts of the world. And true enough, the seeds blow off of those things and you get thousands of little tea tree sprigs growing up all over the yard. We're constantly having to pull them out. But there was one here that was really big, and it had completely enveloped this hibiscus. This is Annie. And there was like, you could barely see one little branch with one little flower coming off, and it was nearly dead. So we pulled the tea trees out and revealed this hibiscus, which is now coming back full storm. I'm so thrilled, except for this one big chunk of dead stump. But here's these crocus mirias or whatever they are growing in here too, and I cannot get them out of here. Maybe somebody can help me figure out what to do here. They're growing down underneath this tree, so I can't, if you pull them out, they just break off. I can't get to the bulbs. And these flowers, they turn into seed pods, which break off and blow all over the yard. And we have crocus mirias, and that's not the name. I apologize for not knowing what it is. It's something like that. They start growing everywhere. There's little plants growing all over this yard. So starting here from this wall along the backside of this rose garden bed to over to here to the house, and the same on the other side, I'm going to put in a little 4-foot picket fence so that we can keep the dogs in the back. They love to come out here and run and bark at people, and it gets to be a little much. So I'm going to put that little fence in. That's what this wood is over here. I also bought 2 cherry trees. I want 2 cherry trees here in the front so we can have beautiful flowering cherry blossoms in the spring here in the front. And I don't know if you can notice, but in this side yard, there's some paths that I've been trying to draw. Inside the house, we found a hand-drawn schematic from the Levy family that showed a diagram drawn in pencil of what they wanted this side yard to look like. And it was a series of circles like this. And I think they were just gonna put roses over here because it said rose garden on it. And I'll try to take a picture of it and put it in this video if I can. So I wanna replicate that here. I'm gonna make pathways that intersect in here. So you can turn and go that way on a path, but each one of these then will be a garden bed. So there'll be all these circular geometric beds in this flower garden over here. And I want this whole section over here to be in the English garden style, you know, not the frou-frou garden style, but kind of a free-form, wild English garden. which it kind of looks like that now right here a little bit. But I want each section of flower bed to be a little different, you know, in height and style of how they're built, and each one have a different section of things growing in them. These are all arbors that were here when we moved in, and they had them all over the yard, just in different places. Not much rhyme or reason to them, and this is where they would have those grapevines growing over, but they'd be in shady areas, so they just weren't doing very well. So I brought them all over here because eventually I'd love to have a gazebo here, but I know those are also very expensive, so I'm not sure I can do it, and I don't know if the city would allow me to have one there. But that's why I put those there, just so I could approximate and see what it would be like to have a gazebo right here in the center of the garden, which I think would be really pretty. This section's another kind of mess. This is a 5-in-1 apple tree. I just don't know if all 5 of the sections are gonna grow back. This was actually supposed to be 5 different apple varieties than what I got. They sent me this one, and it was not what I ordered. So I contacted them because I wanted the other one, and they said, well, we'll give you half off on that one if you keep it. So I kept it, and then I never did order the other one. This is a cherry tree. Let me see if I can find the tag here. I'm glad I put tags on all these when we moved in. Prunus ilicifolia evergreen cherry, or hollyleaf cherry. And I think it's really pretty. It gets some white blossoms on it, and then around, I think it's around Christmas time, it gets little cherries on it. And they are edible. I don't think they're delicious, but they are edible. These are some kind of sages. I can't remember what kind they are. Maybe somebody can write in and tell us what they are. They get a variegated little blossom on it. They're kind of pretty. This I don't like at all, so I think I'm going to remove this. This is Heteromelis arbutifolia, or a Toyon Christmas berry. And it does get some white flowers on it. You can see up here at the top. But that's about all it does, and it's just, I don't know, it's not that pretty to me. So I'm not that thrilled with that. And then just around the yard, this beautiful palm tree is in the parkway, so it's actually a city tree. We've got a big cedar here that's really pretty, and of course I love the smell of cedar branches. And then there's this palm tree, which when we get those gale force winds, I mean, this thing sways like crazy. This is another, I think it's a California scrub oak, which is like the one over on the other side by the garage. When we moved in here, right here was another gigantic tree, and you can see in this opening where it grew, and it kind of pushed this cedar over. And I don't know that it was actually planted here originally. I think it was just a fast grower, but it was a mock orange. And it was just kind of killing out the oak tree and the cedar tree. And you couldn't really see it behind all this anyway, so we had that removed. It was also growing over into my neighbor's yard and affecting his avocado tree here. So we just took that out. I don't love that this palm tree is here, but I guess we probably shouldn't take that out. It seems kind of arbitrarily stuck in there, and I don't know that it would be easy to take out anyway. I wanted to show you over here too. I hate to show you my mess because we just have been kind of storing stuff over here, but I thought this was cute too. So don't look at the junk, because I got to get this cleaned up. But some of the prior people had put this little hobbit village doorway in here. So I actually thought that I could do that over here, is make that a cute little like miniature garden area. Maybe put some of the succulents in over there. So that's a quick overview. Well, it probably wasn't that quick, was it? We'll see how my editing goes. Overview of the yard here at the Henry Levy House. So this is the hard part. I always hate to ask for favors, but as much as I love gardening and love getting out every morning like this and working in the yard, things kind of changed as of late. My partner, Jeff Rizzo, of 39 years, just passed away on May the 1st from pulmonary fibrosis. It was totally unexpected. We bought this house just under 2 years ago, hoping to retire here and live out our days. And now things are kind of up in the air, so I don't know really what's to become of me living here. And but regardless, I feel a duty to continue on and try to make it as beautiful as we can and continue to restore it. I just don't know financially if I'm going to be able to stay here and do it justice. Sorry. And I can't do it by myself anymore. So I was trying to think of ways to ask people to help without it looking like here I am in this big, gorgeous, expensive house asking people to volunteer to help, because I know that looks bad. But I'm not rich. We worked hard. Jeff worked hard over the years to be able to afford this house. And this is our life's investment. I can't say, oh, here's a window, I'll pay for it with a window of our house. All our money is tied up in the house. And so I need some help. I can't do everything I need to do by myself anymore. And I think people are fascinated with this house. People are stopping by all the time and talking about how they'd love to come inside and see it and admiring the yard and how beautiful it is. And it's certainly more beautiful than when we first moved in. It's getting there. It's taking a long time, a lot of effort and a lot of money. But it's hard. I'm getting old. I'll be 61 this year and I have a bad back, and not to sound like a sob story, but it's just facts where I'll get old. So digging is hard for me. I can't, always get out there and dig. I've got to put this fence in now and dig, 25 or more post holes. So I'm gonna have to try to find somebody to help me at least dig the holes. But anyway, I was trying to think of ways, because I know there's people out there who don't have big yards or even small yards that they can garden in, who like to garden. And I thought, if I lived in an apartment and didn't have a yard of my own, I'd still like to garden. And I'd wish that there were places to go where I could do that. And I know the city of Oxnard does have some community gardens around. I don't think they're doing that well. I know at Campus Park they're planning on a community garden. And I think some of the local rose gardens, I think there's one in Ventura where people can volunteer to go help tend the roses. But anyway, I thought, why don't I just open the yard up, see if anybody's interested. I don't want it to seem like I'm trying to get free help just to work on my yard, because that's not it at all. I'll do it by myself. I will always just do it by myself. But it's more fun with other people. And if there's people out there who like to garden, who love to garden, and would like a place to do it because they don't have one of their own, or even if you do have one of your own and just want to help out here, I'd like to open up the yard to do that. And maybe together we can restore this house to what it should look like, and then open it to the community for people to come and they can spend time in the garden. It's a big yard. This is a triple wide lot here. It's huge. And it's way, oh, the dogs are barking out. Somebody trampling my azaleas. It's way more than I need by myself. And I have a roommate, Curtis, who tries to help me out a little bit, but he works full time. And I'd love for people to come and enjoy the grounds. and enjoy the house. You know, we've had some tours of the house, and now, you know, we've been on ghost adventures, so now people are really interested in the ghost aspect of the house, and so we're thinking about opening the house for either just regular tours so people can see what it looks like inside, which we're still refurbishing inside as well, but also doing some ghost tours. But the yard is special to me because I've always loved gardening, and I know people love the beauty of gardens, and I think it could be a real showplace that the community could enjoy. And I'd love to spend time with people, you know, working out in the yard gardening if they want to come and do that and enjoy the yard. I can even open up some of those areas in the circles that I just showed you. You know, people can plant their own little gardens over there and put a little plaque with their name on it if they want. You know, as long as it stays in the style of what we're planning for the yard, I'm totally cool with that. So anyway, let me know what you think. I hope it doesn't come off that I'm just trying to get free labor, because that's not it at all. Just my circumstances have changed and I need some help. And now an airplane's going to go overhead, so I'm going to close out here. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video.